I put this in the finished section because the RFC is out. We'll see if there's any interest regarding this module. Um, yeah, so yeah, like we said, it would be a good candidate for a persona bar module. I don't think that's something rush though. It could be used as an example. So let's consider this finished, and we'll do it when we'll do it. Mr. Andrew, did we have anything new or regarding automated builds and kind of release notes kind of merged together?
No, I haven't
Cool.
made any progress on this, unfortunately.
Okay, so we'll keep that in the unfinished area and we'll touch it again later. I'm gonna start having a little bit more time now to get back to the core modules. So whatever I'm gonna touch, I'll get in touch with you to kind of get it started with automation.
Yeah, we should we should be at a spot where the builds should be able to be added to other projects. I picked a pretty poor module to start with the wiki one because of how the branches were structured and how some pull requests were being merged and how we've got development and master diverging away from each other. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of cleanup work there. But for any module that is in a better condition than that,
Mhm.
just ping me on Slack, shoot me an email. We can find some time and go through it together. Maybe record a video on how to set it up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, totally. Um, Relating to this and another point, do you see any way we could I don't know. I'm still thinking how we could do this. I would like to have in the GitHub metadata the DNN version required for the module to work, the minimum version, and a way to report up to which version it was tested on, but in a standard way that an API could reuse.
I'm gonna punt that to Dave because he knows the
So you're wanting to do
guy
what
better.
now? You're wanting to do what?
I would like to report the minimum required DNN version for each of the release.
In what
So
context?
it's in the manifest right now, you know, in the
Right.
assembly requirements.
Yeah.
I would like a way to expose that and up to which version it was tested, but in a standard way that it would show in the GitHub metadata. So either a tag or I don't know. I'm still thinking how we could report this in a standard way that an API could pull the GitHub metadata and say this release is good from here
So,
to there.
Dan, I got a question then. When you
Yeah.
say the GitHub metadata, are you talking about the release notes for GitHub, or are you just talking about GitHub in general?
Okay, let's switch to that point, and maybe you're gonna understand better what I mean. It was
Yeah, and also, if you don't
relating
mind
to the Git
sharing.
homepage here. Sharing what my
Oh,
screen? Do you see my screen?
from the context of GitHub,
Yeah.
you want to access the minimum version for all the community modules.
Okay, I'm gonna switch to that point, and we'll see where we can go with that. My initial thought on 7.6 here would be to reuse the Jekyll theme we made for the documentation. As a GitHub page, you can have it on a project basis, so it's going to give you the details of that project, or on a repository basis, I should say. And you can have it on organization or user page, which will pull all the repositories in the metadata. So I've been tinkering with that yesterday on my own GitHub here. And basically, you can get an array of all the, well, you get the metadata for the organization, and then you get all the public repositories under that organization. And for each of them, you have this set of metadata.
Okay, so you're talking GitHub API. Gotcha.
Yes. So you can get the avatar and this and that, and the terms and hooks and all the URLs to the issues and the pull requests and on each of the repositories. And what I found interesting was a couple of those fields, like the date it was created, updated, and the last push that happened. So I'm guessing that this date is the last commit and that this date is the last anything. So if there's a new issue or a new pull request or whatever, it updates this, and if it gets merged, it updates that. I'm guessing. I'm still playing with it, but
Right.
what I'm looking for is a tool to replace our Excel sheet to know how many issues per project, when was it last updated, and being able to sort these things out in a way that, okay, today I feel like touching the oldest stuff, and I can sort them and go to the oldest one, and does this need something or whatever,
Right.
or I want to focus on the repository which has the most issues or the most bug issues, let's say. So we have a tag for bugs, so I can filter just the number of issues that are bugs, and I could have let me get a spreadsheet. I'm guessing it was here, because we have so many to manage, and sometimes so I would like to have not only issues, but I would like to have bugs and not bugs or enhancements or whatever, but I would like to separate the bug issues from the other issues, because improvements we do them when we can. Bugs, it would be nice to try to keep up with them, and I would like to find a way to, I don't know, have a graph or something that it's compatible from this version up to, we tested it up to this. So when 9.3 comes out, if we go and use this or upgrade a site that uses this and we see it works, we can tick a box. It works on 9.3 and we have a nice report, you know. So do you have any, so yeah, okay. Let me finish the point and maybe we can see. So using this, the only way I see that we could do that would be with tags or something, and I didn't like it much. Now, using Jekyll and reusing the theme here, I was able to do a repeat on each of those repositories and pull, you know, it's not pretty by any means, but I can pull the description, the link to the repository, how many open issues, and this and that. Now, sorting is a mess. I was never able to sort dates properly and switch the order of the dates using Jekyll. It looks like every article I see, sorting works differently with Liquid, with the implementation of Liquid into Jekyll, and with the implementation of Jekyll within GitHub. So documentation is a mess, and I think even if it worked, we could not live change the sorting like you would do in Excel because it's a static page, unless we
Yeah.
start putting JavaScript within the template and this and that. So my next thought is, if we do need to put JavaScript and all that, why not make that a module to aggregate all this information and use the APIs directly and put that module on a website, which was already started.
So, Daniel, do you have anything else you want to share? Or can I chat for a
Nope.
minute?
Go ahead.
All right. You gave us a lot of information there, and that's so I'm going to go back to front. So the sorting the stuff on the front end here, what I would recommend is take a look at jQuery data tables. Have you used that plugin before?
I think so. A long time ago, but I think so.
Okay.
Datatables.net.
Yeah, so the jQuery data tables will allow you to render the data however you want. It starts off as tabular data, and the nice thing about it is it's got sorting and filtering built in as first-class feature. So if you render the data using that, it'll be really easy to be able to sort and filter it here. And since we're already using an Excel spreadsheet and we have tabular data, that might be a really good option to go down. And again, that's jQuery data tables. I've used it on a lot of different projects. I know we all have our own opinions about jQuery, but it's quick, it's dirty, it's client side. It'll get the job done. Going back to your GitHub metadata questions. So there's a couple different ways that I was thinking to do this, and the one that really jumps out at me is finding the manifest file location on all of the projects and then just writing some JavaScript that opens the file and does some type of XML parsing looking for the DNN version, and then we could print that information out. As far as certifying what versions are tested on, that's going to be a tough one. Maybe we just set up a database somewhere that stores that information. Maybe we use the Google Docs API to pull it out of a spreadsheet. Maybe we use Zapier or something to store it and update it. There's a lot of different ways, but at the end of the day, we're going to need to store that data somewhere and read it. So I'm not sure if in my opinion, I think it would be much easier for us to build a really small web app that had a small database associated with it that could store some of this information, if that's not the path we want to go down. And I'm going to stop rambling because Dave's got his hand up. You guys don't stop me. I'll just keep talking.
No, I think those are really great ideas, but when it comes to the minimum tested version and stuff like that, we could use either some form of label on the repo, itself or something like that to indicate on a release, something like that. Or if it's associated with a particular milestone or something like that. But that requires us to go down the path of standards again, right? And
yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's a great idea either.
You just jogged my memory, Dave. And another thing we could do, and Daniel, I know you were starting to look at this, was we could use Azure DevOps test plans to do that. And Azure DevOps has an entire API built around it, so you actually don't need to use Azure DevOps to do anything in it. So everything from managing your work items to test plans, there's an API to do all your CRUD operations. So if this is the part where how much time and effort can we dedicate to it? If we have enough time to come up with a simple way to certify new builds and using the test plan feature, well, then we can have a simple API call to Azure DevOps to return some of that information for us. But that would be a lot more complicated, in my opinion, than standing up a really small web app and database to store some of that information. So it's...
Yeah. Now, my other thought is, instead of messing with stuff we're less familiar with, like Jekyll and all that, was to make a module that would directly just communicate with the GitHub APIs, and we can customize it the way we want, and we could provide an API from there with caching, because there's very small limits on the GitHub APIs, so we could cache that data and just pull it if we need to refresh it. Now, Mr. David, with the hands up, there's something already started in that regards, right?
Yeah, the idea was if people found NV Quick Pulse useful, that some of that same logic, some of the same things, even though it's Angular, it could be converted to a SPA module using Angular on that, or a Persona Bar extension if we wanted that. To do that. So some of the wheel reinventing wouldn't have to be there, but it's really, from what I am thinking, it's still in its infant stages, like of getting data.
Yeah, my thought was leading towards making it a DNN module that we could do all this sorting and everything as we want as a SPA module, and to have settings. And in those settings, we could add the data that we're missing from the APIs. So we can set the minimum version and up to which version it was tested, and we could have it strongly typed so there's no mistakes there. Was it tested with 9.3? Yeah, okay. Check the box, and it's going to show in the UI.
And it might be helpful for that, Daniel, for it to be on the new community site.
Exactly. And now I'm not sure if I'm going to have to edit this part of the video, but there's a new DNN community website that's going to be starting, and it's going to be community managed, so we have more access to everything. So if we need to install a custom module, we'll be able to. And my thought was to make the module in such a way that we could grab that metadata add what we need as settings for on a per item thing, and then provide back that API to other consumers. So if you want a phone app like NVQuick module, I'm sorry, what was the name?
Let me quick something.
NVQuick
Quick
something.
Pulse.
NV quick guy.
NVQuick Pulse, yeah.
Yeah.
So NVQuick Pulse
Well,
could use that and would get everything that it already has, plus whatever we enter there as settings, as a phone app, and we would have that on the web. And if there's a revamp of the DNN store, they could maybe take us as a model for the other things. They could connect to our API to get all the modules that are registered there as.
So there may be some overlap on this as well with the community dashboard that Jay Mathis has been working on, as well as the resurrection of the DNN Forge. That is also an effort that I think Will Stroll is heading up. So it's some of this information, just from a user experience standpoint, if it can be surfaced in those contexts.
Yeah, I think
that may be helpful.
People should get together and that we do one thing. So,
or not, yeah.
Or not?
Just I mean, just depending on what the goals of those solutions are, you know.
Yeah. I know for myself, my need is to be able to filter just for the core module. So like I said, I don't care if there's other community modules in there, but we could have a filter. Okay, show me only the core modules and sort them by the one with most issues, or show me just the core modules, from oldest to newest, and that I can have links back to that and start having some kind of workflow, because I'm getting notifications every day on 20 different modules that there's a new bug and this and that, and I don't know where to start and which one I'm gonna touch. And I'd like to have a worksheet and do something, you know. So you said Jay Mathis is working on. Let me just collect the names here, and I'll try to get everybody. David,
Jay Mathis,
Dexter has NV Quick Pulse. Whoops. And Jay Mathis, Mathis, I think, right?
That's correct. Yep.
There's
no official name for it yet, but it's like a community dashboard, which does no, that's two different things. He's working on community dashboard. The old DNN Forge module is being resurrected, I think, by Will Stroll.
Yeah, that sounds right. I remember Will was talking about it a lot.
I know he has the source code for it. So
I think it's like this.
And then there is another thing that's out there that's very similar as well on the DNN Connect website, built-in open content for the community extensions. I'll send you a link here if you'd like, or if you just go to dnn-connect.org. Sometimes the redirect works and sometimes it doesn't. Under community extensions. Right now, this is an open content solution. Basically a directory. This is some semblance of what the Forge used to be.
So that's DNN Connect.
Problem with that is the data that's underlying of that and how that's stored.
This brings up a really good problem that I'm not trying to hijack the meeting at all, but we have a lot of stuff that's kind of really separated and diverged for community modules, core modules, and such. And it makes it very difficult for new people to DNN to find free modules that can help them.
Yes.
And I don't expect every person that uses DNN to be a hardcore developer like the rest of us here. They might just be like, I don't know, just an IT administrator. Not saying that's just an IT administrator, but someone that doesn't have a lot of programming knowledge and they need to be put
web
together.
designers.
Yeah.
web designers and they need to put a map and they're looking for a map module and that's it, you know. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot of separate efforts and I don't like it. I don't mind that they are exposed in multiple places, but I think we should have a central location for the data associated with it so that it's kept up to date.
Right. Like
So,
the what Will's doing with the Forge is, I think, is a phenomenal idea to make it easier to access the modules. And they're all kind of different, which makes it more difficult to figure out what we need from each one to make a full solution. But I digress.
yeah. Well, I think I'm going to try to get in touch with Will regarding the Forge, because one thing that was interesting with the Forge, and I don't know how that link works, but there was an update notification in DNN. So if you have that module installed and there's the new version, you get a link to get the new version, update your things and stuff.
When there was a
I
new
would
release.
like this to work again. It would be nice, and it would make people upgrade the modules more often, and we would get more statistics on downloads. That's another thing. In the GitHub API standard data returned here, the stats don't come up.
Yep.
I know there's API to get that.
I know a lot about that.
Yeah.
It was quite tricky to get that download count in NV QuickPulse. I basically had to aggregate it from multiple API requests.
Okay.
So yeah, it's in the code on that. That's you just have to dig into the Angular there.
NV QuickPulse, you put a repository, a public repository about it?
Yeah,
or?
yes, it's open source. It's on the Envisionative organization. So github.com/envisionative/NV QuickPulse. There you go.
Cool.
Now this is an Ionic app, but I mean the information is there, so be glad to share any information there because that was the tricky part. The GitHub API is incredibly powerful, but
okay, the Forge there would be no link. The community dashboard, that was on what?
That's not out there right now. That's in
okay.
On Jay Mathes's hard drive.
Okay. So I think we could consolidate efforts and see what everybody thinks here, and I would like to see a single source of truth for the data that could be then consumed in different ways by different places.
You know, some of these things you guys have mentioned, I haven't seen since version 4 of DNN. The updating of modules with a reminder, I haven't seen that in years.
Actually, I think it's still. I think it's still there. It just doesn't show anything.
Well,
it would be really nice to have.
Yeah, really.
This back. I mean, I know a lot of us manage the sites too, and
yeah, you see the column is still there. You see,
yeah. I think 4 was the last time I seen it. Version 4, 4.5 or something like that.
No, it's still there.
No, I mean the actual.
Well, so that's the upgrade service. It hits an API point. When the Forge got killed, that impacted this. Okay. So when they removed the Forge, this no longer works for any of that.
Yeah.
It works for DNN, but that's the only thing.
This, I think, would be great both for the community modules, everything that would be in the Forge, and maybe what we should do would be redo the Forge on the new dnnsoftware.org site, and that would be the API for DNN to check if there's updates, and the data source for other feeds that would need to show that data. And maybe the DNN store could implement the same kind of thing, and commercial modules would also have their upgrade link on the store URL. So maybe a manifest setting to say where's the source for the upgrade notification. I don't know. That's something I would like to see back.
Yeah, nothing is worse than have to search for updates. I mean, I'd rather have them be in my face, say, hey, look, you need to update this, than have to go and look and make sure that it got updated, or if it's being updated, or if it's even being worked on.
Like I have a single source of, let's say, a single source of truth to make it easier to maintain the data. Truth. I'm sorry for that. Let me turn that off. Okay. So yeah, so I'll get in touch with the various people here, and DNN Connect. Do you know who would be responsible for that, or not someone specific?
Yes. On our board, Timo put it together, but Ernst Peter also fed a ton of the data to it.
Oh,
Where does that data
Timo.
come from, Dave?
No, I'm not
That's-
sure I'm gonna remember how to spell his name.
Who, Timo? Just put Timo B.
Dave,
Yeah.
where does the data for the DNN Connect website there come from? Is that just stored on the website database there, or is it?
Are you talking about specifically the community extensions?
Yeah.
So that's handled a lot like Too Sexy does things. It's an open content.
Oh,
but
okay.
It gets
Gotcha.
stored in a file, essentially.
Gotcha. So it's stored as part of the DNN website there. Got it.
Yeah. There's a data store, essentially, file for open content.
So that one is susceptible to stale data because it needs to be manually updated.
Yes. But this is a fairly recent effort. This is actually what spawned the whole MV QuickPulse idea. We were going to update this to do GitHub integration and get stats put here, but that didn't really go anywhere. I think the user experience for this is much better than the old Forge was, but it's.
Oh, I love this. This is great.
It's yeah.
I really hope that we'll take some lessons learned from this interface and try to use it for new Forge. I think putting it on the community site as a page on the community site would be an amazing idea. But again, I digress.
Yeah, because
No,
I think
right.
we need a way to register in the data to register a module with the link where to download it and this and that. Then
that's the things that the Forge had. It's more mature in that sense, being able to submit new projects and it to automatically publish and things like that. It was way more mature on, but it was not modern user experience at all.
Exactly. And then if there is a GitHub repository, because some of those modules might not be on GitHub. So if there is a GitHub repository, then it's going to pull extra data and we could have compatibility and stuff. So we could filter for, the modules that work on the DNN 9.3, and then you show only the ones that were tested on it. So I think it's good, but we could improve that and make it reusable so we have a single place to enter all the data. Okay, cool. So I digressed to this in order to just show the ideas I had about reporting for versions. So if that being the case, we would report the version in that module instead of doing it on, in addition to reporting it in the release notes of the projects. So then there was on Slack a mention by Francisco that he's going to be starting to work on the I know that he's going to be starting working on the vendors banners module. So he should be doing work on that. And the blog module, I did not have time yet. I was trying to get the last issue for the DNN 9.3 fixed, and we're kind of having a little problem with this with Internet Explorer, which kind of consumed the free time I had this week. So it's still on my agenda, but I didn't have time yet. Test plan Selenium, nothing new for now. We continue that on next meeting. And this, we just talked about it. So anything you guys want to add on to this meeting, or we make it a short one?
And I do have something small, I guess.
Yep.
Since the Azure DevOps stuff has been taking a long time, if anyone wants to give me additional help or wants to be another point person on it, let me know, and I would be more than happy to walk somebody through it, so it's not just falling on my shoulders.
Yeah, you can.
Happy to be involved.
Yeah, you can Slack me anytime if you need something specific. I'm here. Yeah, I'm using it personally a little bit. I'm not very familiar with the YAML templates. I usually use the UI, but if you need hands to register the modules with it or stuff like this, or well, anything I can do.
Right. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is I don't want the perception to be that I'm the only one that could bring us over the finish line with some of it. And
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to train people on the stuff that I'm doing with it and how we can leverage it. I just haven't had time in the past few months.
Yeah, and we also need to have 2-3 members with access to the organization in case anything happens to the only guy who has a login,
Right.
which happened in the past. So
I'm not sure if that's something you need to write down or not, but I just wanted to mention to us that Dave, sounds like you're interested, so I might get you up to speed on some of the stuff I've been doing with it.
If you wanna add me in the permissions over there, when I will be touching one of the modules, I'm gonna first start to register it with DevOps, so that I can see if the build failed or whatever, fix it so it builds fine. That's something I could do.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So if there is nothing more, we'll make this a short one. I have like 3 meetings today, so having one short won't hurt me.
For the next meeting agenda, it would be nice if Peter's able to join. Maybe he can kind of update us on where he is on the cake stuff. And then also Ernst Peter, I think, probably be back then as well and kind of hear what's going on in his world.
Yep. I'm just going to put on this, on these points here, continued on next meeting. Let me, oops, whoa. You know what? I'm gonna merge these 2 points because they go together. There we go. Just try to keep the agenda shorter. So this. Okay, cool. So you guys have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see each other on the March 14th.
Sounds great.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.